All right, friends, it's Teen. I'm back again with a new video, and it's on Eugene Teo. That's right. The, I don't know what to call him, the fitness slave, the gym lifting fitness slave himself, Eugene Teo. I don't know if he's on gear or anything, but whatever. Who knows? He's an influencer. What do you expect? He's got a very high social media account here. Anyways, we're going to do a reaction video to Mr. Eugene Teo. Eugene Teo says, social media fitness is fucked. I need more help. Okay. All right. Let's give you some help, dude.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but social media lately has been kind of fucked up, and it's due to playing the game of the algorithm. You see, in the pursuit of trying to create content, you've got a balance between asking yourself, what kind of creator do you really want to be? Because you want to be one who provides a ton of value, but at the same time, what drives engagement and more views isn't always going to be what you perceive to be the highest value. For instance, a guy like Dr. Mike has been receiving a lot of criticism in the past 6 to 12 months or so as they've really ramped up their views and their production quality with their content.
A lot of this content, I think, is not what they actually believe. It is just to drive engagement.
Which you might have your own personal view.
It's to drive engagement and not success, bro. That's why everybody is failing out there, because you're watching a channel that keeps telling you all these different ways you're going to build a muscle. You're going to do this to build the muscle, that to build the muscle. When in fact, there's only two ways to build. Well, there's two types of hypertrophy, but there's only two ways to build those two types of hypertrophy. There's only two ways that you need to follow to build those muscles, myofibular and sarcoplasmic growth. Okay, there's two types of hypertrophy. There's myofibular and sarcoplasmic. One is artificial and one is real.
I mean, even outside of a guy like Dr. Mike, if you just open up any social media platform, you'll see within seconds so much content that's driven just by bullshit clickbait as opposed to trying to deliver value.
Yeah, I will agree. I agree with him, yeah.
And quality information. And to be honest with you, this is something that I've struggled with a ton, and here's why. You see, I can create a video like this one here, and it's going to get a fair amount of views and a good amount of revenue generated. Collectively...
But me, if I make a video on real education, it's not going to get any views, and I'm shadow banned also by YouTube now, and they won't monetize my channel unless I appeal something and tell them what I'm using my program and what my videos are about. Are they reaction or comedy videos? They don't know. For some reason, even though they did monetize me originally.
This video took maybe 2 hours of filming and 3 hours of editing, start to finish. Whereas a video like this one, where he may have invested around 15 to 30 hours of filming, scripting, concepting, editing, ended up bringing in next to nothing by comparison. And this is where I need your help. Because as much as I love creating content, I don't ever want it to get to a point where I'm just making content for the sake of making content for more views and then changing the style that I do to chase that.
I want to be able to maintain or increase the amount of value I can provide, but also do it in a way that is engaging and interesting for you.
So today we're going to go complete improv style with our creation. I'm going to go through a whole bunch of different questions and comments that I've gotten from you guys, and I'm going to create as much content as I can in different styles as possible. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you enjoy, what you dislike, what you don't want to see more of. And hopefully together we can start to turn around this whole fitness content creation game for the better. Thoughts on Jeff Nippard's recent video, full ROM versus lengthened partials. All right.
He's not the first one to do lengthened partials. I'm the one that first did them. I did them on my old channel, and I talked about them on this one. I did them on my old channel before Blaha struck me, and then I lost my channel to YouTube. I was the one that was doing that.
There are two really big things you need to be considering when it comes to trying to understand research. First of all, don't get too caught up in the weeds as to what this specific study says, because there are a lot of issues with it, which we will cover a little bit today.
And it's not really lengthened partials, it's the eccentric portion that you're focused on.
But this really brings up a big global issue of people obsessing over...
And there's a reason for that. You don't want to just do lengthened partial eccentric for no reason if you're adapted. The whole point to do eccentric is to do it in a particular state so you could get this damage to come back because you're adapted.
Such as science saying, oh, this study now proves that lengthened partials and the big stretch is the #1 thing you should be worrying about.
Why? What is it going to do if you're adapted? What's it going to do? What does it exactly do, this lengthened partial anyways? Does it build a muscle magically or something out of thin air?
it comes to muscle growth. And that's not what this study or any other study is saying. All these are doing
Muscle growth or muscle damage? Which one?
are giving us some more evidence to support the use of certain tools in our training. And sometimes this is
Like Jeff Nippard's steroid use, you mean? Like he's admitted in his videos, he takes his steroids?
really important. Something like pre-exhaust, for example, has been shown time and time again to be not as good as we thought. So even if you're working as hard as you can, you're better off avoiding pre-exhaust if your goal is gains. But above all else, the most important thing is just work fucking hard. Don't worry about all this stuff and just train hard and aim to progress each time. And that'll cover 95% of your gains. But now let's talk about this specific research here, some of the issues were. So you'd think they'd cover off a lot of bases, and they did. They used highly trained athletes, or participants. They were controlled in how they would supervise them in the gym, and they controlled as many variables as possible. But there are a few big issues. Let's have a look. So this is one of the exercises they were doing, the Bayesian curl. So this here is the partial.
Yeah, he doesn't have to pull his arm like that all the way back. He could do it. He could do it standing straight. Hello, you know what I mean? This is retarded, but whatever. This is the partial length. This. What about a partial concentric length? Is that a partial too? Duh. You know what I mean? This could be partial when you go midpoint, and down. Yeah, that's a partial. Yeah. There's partial eccentric, partial concentric, and what about it?
Range of motion.
All right.
And you can pretty quickly see that this is no longer just a biceps exercise, but it's
Yeah, okay. And what about it?
becoming a whole body, shoulder, hikey, kind of weird, butt scratchy, wiping your ass exercise, more so than the biceps curl. And that's under supervision as well. There's big flaws in the execution of the exercise. Another participant, same kind of thing. We're seeing big changes in how they position their body from rep to rep. Now, this is the full range
That's like a full range of motion. He went all the way concentric. This is stupid.
of motion, which is why you see slight differences in the execution there. But it just goes to show, like, even if we have trained participants, even if we control as many variables as possible, there is still so much human error in these really well-designed research papers because the supervision may not always be as optimal as it should be. And the setup of the exercises leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, look here, this guy here is meant to be challenging that lengthened position. But brother, you can hang out here for a very, very long fucking time. Even though your biceps is lengthened out and stretched, when that cable passes right directly through the joints, there's no tension there. I might as well be holding a dumbbell in my hand doing a dumbbell curl and just hanging out here. There is virtually zero tension on the muscle. It's not until I get to maybe here-ish where there is actually some challenge.
Yeah, because it's recoiling back. The sarcomeres are recoiling. They're spongy material.
But this first portion here, I'm moving that weight horizontally.
That's what allows you to move your arms. Hello.
The first portion here, he's moving the weight, or he's moving his hand vertically, but there's zero tension there. So this here, with this poor setup and poor execution, is biasing.
Does it really matter? He's adapted, like all of you. You're all adapted to these exercises. And they reached an MD size limit. You're adapted, reached an MD size limit. And they repaired and remodeled a lot stronger when you came in when you were untrained. And so they're resistant from further assaults by these stupid weights that you're fucking lifting, dude. Get it? Because you're weak. You're not strong enough to bust them with a second bout.
The lengthened stretch partial range of motion to fail in this research. So when the results show that there, I think, was similar benefits, partial to full range,
Wow,
we're actually
this
saying...
guy must be a genius. All that studying from books. And me, I didn't study bodybuilding. I went out and got experience. That's how come I know all these things. I'm able to find the answers. Well, because people ask me, can you prove what you say? Yeah, I find it right away because I know it's going to exist in science. Want to know why? Because I got experience. Hello.
Is the partial range was playing at a handicap. So that's one issue. Let's have a look over here and I'll show you guys what should have been done instead. When they were doing the biceps curl, if they want that lengthened position, stretch out the arm behind you. But again, here, I can hang out here for a long...
But why do you have to do it like that? Why can't you just stand straight and do it from the bottom up? Well, I mean, what's the point of pulling your shoulder all the way back?
Time. If all you did instead, about there-ish, now that's challenging there. Like for me to curl down,
Challenging what? Your shoulder? Is it a shoulder exercise? What are you doing here, dude?
there is a little bit more force because while I'm being straightened out that direction, I've got to work
Yeah, but this isn't a shoulder exercise. It's a bicep exercise. Hello, it's isolation.
down here. The similar kind of thing can be seen across a lot of the
Okay.
other exercises they were doing. And thanks to the guys who did a lot of attention to detail in their work, where they filmed all the participants, they managed as many variables as possible. But again, this is not to bag on Jeff or Dr. Wolf or Dr. Pack or any of the other research designers here. It's more so to highlight the issue with so much of this science-based bullshit, to be honest. Not this study's bullshit, but people getting hyper-focused on it because it's not without its limitations. Here's another example of some of the issues.
It's not without its limitations, broski. Yes, yes. What's the limitations? I know that a unique feature of untrained muscles are they get stiff and sore the next day due to what? Muscle damage. But I've never heard muscles that were trained and they got stiff and sore the next day. Get it? Especially doing the same exercise with a repeated bout.
In exercise selection and setup. So they don't have this fancy piece of equipment available, which is
Listen to that word. The same exercise with a repeated bout will not get you this damage. Okay, so what do you got to do? Well, you got to move. You can either move up in weight, right, and do do more of these repetitions or sets. More sets.
totally fair enough. What they did choose to train the back, though, was a dumbbell row. So their partial range of motion was from here to here. Same kind of issue.
Here's the question. Let's say I came in and I did these biceps, whatever. I did 10 times 10. Okay? And I never done them before, but I done them like this the first time. I did 10 times 10. I got this damage to come back. I'm untrained doing this. I'm a trained athlete, but I'm untrained doing that exercise like he just showed you. Okay. I come back, I do the exact same exercise with a repeated bout, but I do 10 times 10 again, right? Exactly the same. Will I get damaged? No, I will not get damaged. So what do I have to do this time? Well, I'm going to have to increase it. I'm going to have to increase it by a lot. At least, definitely, I'm going to have to add another 5 sets, maybe even 10. So I might have to do 20 times 10 now. 20 times 10 or something. Let's just say this. There's other ways to get this damage. I'm not going to explain it right now, but I'm just talking about an isolation, one isolation for this muscle. So you're going to have to do more of that same exercise, doing the same weight, or you can increase the weight incrementally and then do the same thing you did in the previous exercise, but 10 times 10. That's about it. That's all I could tell you. Yeah. And it can't happen with a repeated bout like the next day. You're going to have to take off a lot of days, okay? A lot of days to repair and remodel those muscles. If they're not repaired and remodeled, they're not fully repaired and remodeled, and you come back and try to do that, well, they won't damage. They won't damage. They simply will not damage. You understand me? But again, they're resilient from becoming damaged because they're protected. They're still in type 1 hiding and a bunch of stuff, and they're still in repair and remodeling mode and all that. It does take a short period of time. The shortest period of time to remodel these muscles is 7 days. So, okay.
Here, there is next to no resistance on your back muscles. Yes, they are stretched out, but the second you start moving, there's really no tension in the first range of motion. So this is setting things up for failure. If they had something fancy like this available where you could change where you load the plates up, you could really make a true lengthened partial biased exercise. So usually when you're doing a dumbbell row, the hard point is up here.
I talk about all these things anyways. I use real scientific reports during my video list, and some people ask me to make a playlist. They're even in my community section.
And then down here is really, really easy, which is what makes their pick of a dumbbell row a pretty poor choice for lengthened bias.
Not necessarily. It's really about allowing gravity and the weight to pull on the muscle, but it's a stopping motion. Look, in the concentric motion, you don't need to worry about stopping the weight because you're going with gravity, you're going against gravity, but you're going with gravity in the opposite direction. Oh fuck, this thing turned off. Cut off there, dude. Sorry about that.
Really, really easy, which is what makes their pick of a dumbbell row a pretty poor choice for lengthened bias or lengthened challenges. Oh, fucking hell. All right. If I can get the weight back here, This is pretty fucking
That's pretty good if you could get the weight back there. Now, the most important part right now is the eccentric portion.
easy to hang out and just talk to you guys because of how the weight's been displaced. This is the shortened position, and if I was doing a barbell row, 100 kilos would be fucking hard
Short position, that's the concentric position. Yes, okay.
right now. But it's pretty easy. Honestly, it feels like nothing. When I get down to here, I feel like I'm about to just tear
You feel like it's ripping you apart. Yeah, that's the whole point.
every muscle in my back. So if we're
Every muscle in your back and your arms, because you're using your arms, so it's pulling on all the muscles. See what I mean? You just worked your arms over there doing the bicep curls, and now you're doing your back. So that's an overworking of a what? Of a muscle. I always say this. I always say overtraining of an untrained muscle. That's just figure of speech, really. It's not untrained. You are trained, but you can still bring this damage back, even though your muscle is trained. But doing something specifically that you're untrained doing, by doing a lot of something.
set up a study that was to test partial lengthened range of motion versus a full range of motion. A better challenge or a better test would be to
The only problem there is that the only way to bring the damage back in this lengthened partial is unfamiliar, untrained, and unaccustomed, unfamiliar, and untrained muscles are known to cause widespread muscle damage. And he's not causing any damage because he's adapted to these exercises, and he's not doing a lot of them either. You have to do you have to do a lot to get this damage to come back. It's really, really, really hard. It's astronomically hard to damage these muscles. Once they've repaired and remodeled, the first time when you came in, you were untrained. You got a donation of these nuclei from the satellite cell to support further muscle growth, but then they reached an MED size limit, and now they're beyond where the satellite cell can donate any more extra nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. So you need to increase that domain. And how do you do that?
Here's an exercise, rower movement, where you can challenge that lengthened position significantly more.
I have a question for you, Mr. What's your name again? Eugene Teo. If muscles have a myonuclear domain size limit, and as it states there in PubMed, it says that MED size has reached the ceiling limit during hypertrophic process beyond where the satellite cell can donate any more extra nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. So what do you need to do? It's beyond where it could donate any more extra nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth during that hypertrophic process. So what do you need to do? What do you need to do to support further muscle growth? Well, you need these nuclei. Okay, how do you get them, Coach Eugene Teo? Because you're such a genius. You have over 900,000 fucking fitness slaves watching you. So tell us.
Versus challenging the whole range of motion significantly more.
Right.
That would be, in my opinion, a better test to determine the...
It is. Why? Here, I have another question for you. Why is a unique feature of untrained muscles? Why is that unique? That doing an eccentric exercise, being untrained, will you get stiff and sore the next day due to muscle damage? Why is that unique? Why is that unique? That an untrained muscle gets this damage, it gets sore and gets damaged the next day. Why doesn't a trained muscle get damaged? If you're lifting in the gym, why doesn't it get damaged? See what I mean? And if a muscle gets damaged, what happens? What happens when it gets damaged? I have another question for you. How do you wake up the satellite cell? Because it's quiescent, right? It's quiescent, it's hiding, it's a stem cell. That's what builds muscles. That's what donates its nuclei. The nuclei synthesize protein to support further muscle growth. They synthesize protein. Without them, you can't synthesize, no matter how much protein you eat, you can't synthesize any more protein. You can't build any more muscle. They're highly nucleated, these muscle fibers. So what causes the satellite cell to wake up from quiescence, Mr. Eugene Teo? Yeah. And what is the adaptation? What is the adaptation process when it comes to muscle growth? How do muscles adapt to weights exactly, if you're so smart?
Efficacy of lengthened partials or lengthened position training over full range or over the shortened position. Unfortunately,
I have another question for you. The myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength, but not the mass of the limb muscles. Well, if the myocytic androgen receptor, where the testosterone binds to it, right? That's what everybody says. Is going to help you build these so-called muscles. Testosterone is going to build the muscle out magically out of thin air without any other help. It's going to do it by itself. then what controls the mass of the limb muscles? Well, probably these nuclei, right? Okay, so what does the androgen receptor do? It's for maximum force production, they say. Okay, let's say you up the testosterone. You think testosterone is going to build muscle if you don't have any more nuclei? How's testosterone is useful, what, for synthesizing protein, helping to synthesize protein, definitely. But nuclei, they synthesize protein, right? To support further muscle growth, these satellite cells. So think about it. If they've reached an MND size limit, they're beyond where they can donate anymore to support further muscle growth. What's the testosterone going to do if you can't support any more growth because the satellite cell is not donating any more nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth? What do you got to do?
Machines aren't always available, and that's what I'm trying to get at here. I don't want you to think that you now need to design the perfect study around that, because it's unrealistic.
Okay, I don't see what he's mostly doing there concentric. This is bullshit.
But this is more so the case as to why you shouldn't put a lot of stock into a lot of these research papers and get too caught up in the weeds. A lot of the time, you're going to see so many flaws in the study.
The research papers, what are they based on, though? You don't even understand these research papers. You could be a trained athlete and do a new or unaccustomed exercise, and then you get this damage. Okay, and?
That make it less and less telling as to what you should or should not do. And the fact is, lengthened bias training has been around for a very, very, very long time. Doing it back with John Meadows 10 years ago, doing it in my own bodybuilding training 15 years ago. It's been around for decades before that as well. It's nothing new. It's something that allows you to push hard with effort and to extend that step further. And that's all that really matters. So don't worry about that. Just worry about how hard are you training in the gym and are you progressing? The end. What's the best advice you can give about core training?
I love one. Just progress. Just go to the gym and do whatever blindly and waste your time. Yes, okay.
Probably the most popular ab exercise you'll see is a cable crunch, and I think it's a waste of time, and let me show you why. I shouldn't say waste of time, because I think that's a little bit of a strong, harsh label. It's still an exercise you can use.
I've used it, but I think it is a waste of time, okay.
This is why everybody does it, but there's a few humongous flaws with it. Like, that is the exercise, and I'm honestly trying to use some pretty good technique, but the first thing you might notice is, as I come down, my butt shoots back as well.
It's more like concentric here. You're just pushing downward.
So here to here, that's my hips just shifting back. Now, I know
I've seen people kind of doing that, and they usually crunch and do that at the same time.
you're going to say, Eugene, just do the exercise properly with good technique, and that is totally valid. So let me show you that. Nice and stable, legs are down. I'm just going to focus on crunching through my abs and back up. Now, that's really challenging. It really is.
I'd definitely say that's challenging. Yeah, that's quite good. That's a nice exercise. But how's that going to help you if you're adapted to it?
Your abs working a lot, and they are working a lot. The issue with this still remains is that there's no stability. And this is similar to me doing a lat pull down without having my legs locked in to the support pads. The second you get close to a failure point, you're going to start to shift backwards, not to necessarily cheat, but
Looks like the weight was a lot stronger than you pulling you up.
because it's a more efficient position and your body can go there very easily. So what are your options instead? You can still do cable crunches if you want, although I would try to find a way to stabilize your
Does this guy even lift? Look at him. Look at his physique. He doesn't even look like he lifts.
hips more, not just down here at the legs. But before we get there, my preferred option is to try to find something like a GHD, some kind of sit-up bench, and either lock your ankles in or lock your thighs in. And now we can focus purely on that one roll of the abs. We're going into extension of the spine and flexion of the spine. You can add load here with a resistance band.
I don't understand any of this, but okay.
You can use dumbbells, you can use a barbell, whatever you want. You can even use a cable if you want to drag this across the
He's
cable.
not teaching you anything you don't know. He's just teaching you exercise. Okay, but how do you build muscles, dude?
Station and perform
How do you get
the
stronger?
exact same.
How do you get stronger? How do you build muscle and get stronger? How do you get stronger? You probably already know that. Lift a heavy weight. But how do you build muscle and get stronger at the same time? How do you do that?
Bunch of motion. And now when I fail, I've got nowhere to hide. This is just going to be pure target stimulus to my core. Now, I know a lot of people don't have this piece of equipment available, but fortunately, we have other options. Come with me if you want to live. Behind door number one, we have the hyperextension, which a lot more gyms will typically have. Instead of being face down like this and doing your backy things, your buddy things, come around this side, and you can do the exact same crunch motion. Coming back and coming up. Now, I would set this a little bit higher because there my hips are off, which might mean this here is the pivot point.
I gotta tell you, this is really boring at this point.
Which means my hip flexors will work.
Boring. I don't know what he's trying to do here exactly. What the fuck?
Here that work with rotation or anti
This is just bullshit exercises again. More
rotation,
bullshit.
and you can apply the exact same.
Yeah, okay. Some dumbbells, I don't know.
As you can see back here, they run across, they run up, or they do
yes,
this,
I see, yes,
and
yes. What is this?
add a couple of water bottles to your hands, and trust me, this will completely roast
Water bottles?
that whole upper back area. Now, if you want to get super duper advanced, you could do things like handstand shrugs, and that would hit a very, very similar kind of
Okay.
yuck.
He didn't really teach us anything new here. Garbage food, of course. Slave food.
Chocolate. And it quantifies things as good calories versus bad calories.
Chocolate and some garbage protein bars. Fake protein.
And that not all calories are created equal. Now, a couple of
Calories created equal. Well, animal products are not plant products. They're not drugs.
to pick with this. First of all, not to sound like an asshole, but a calorie is a calorie. Of
No, it's not.
a liquid of water.
A calorie is not a calorie. I think you need to watch this YouTuber called Blaze V. You're wrong, dude.
Well, I could fill it up with soft drink.
You're
and
wrong, you're wrong.
Bullshit. And it creates a lot more confusion.
Again, it's filling up with soft drinks, all these artificial things you're doing. Come on, dude.
And it shifts the focus away from the pure
So unnatural.
is when you're looking at nutrition, try to avoid quantifying something as good and bad,
Yeah,
but
okay.
instead look at it more from its overall qualities.
Yeah, what's that?
This has got more protein and less calories there.
Absolutely, it has no protein in there. Plants have no protein. Animal products are protein.
This is fucking.
Meat has no carbs in it, and meat is protein. And as far as these plants, pure carbs, they're fiber, they're carbs, and they're drugs, and that's it. And there's no protein in them.
Delicious. This can also be delicious to some of you, but to those of you
Not for
fire
humans.
through a few different questions.
Not for humans.
Because again, this is one of the issues that I struggle with, where I get so many really good questions that I want to create content around, but to be perfectly honest with you, it doesn't fit anywhere. I think these questions are interesting, and I think the answers can be really helpful, but it's not enough to make a full video on. It's not something that I can see right now being super interesting and engaging. But if you have any suggestions as we go through these, let me know down below as well, and we'll keep working for you. How difficult is muscle loss during a cut? If I go down 2 kgs on my average,
How difficult is a sarcoplasmic fake artificial muscle loss during a cut? Well, it's going to be a lot, dude. Practically all of it's going to go. If I go down 2 kilograms on my average sum of that muzi, what? I have no idea what he's talking about.
That muscle, I'm guessing this fella's asking if he's gone 2 kilos down below his average body weight, has he lost some muscle? And that's a very variable thing. But the most important question is,
Is it sarcoplasmic or myofibrillar? Most likely it's sarcoplasmic, because nobody's building any myofibrillar growth out there, dude. Because it's superly hard. Anyway, whatever.
with muscle loss during a cut, it's quite challenging. If you're eating enough protein and you're training with a sufficient amount of volume and not.
I love this one. If you're eating enough protein and you're just weightlifting sufficiently, but guess what? But if you don't have sufficient amount of nuclei, you can't support further muscle growth, because the satellite cell had reached an MND size limit beyond where it can donate any more extra nuclei to support further muscle growth. So no matter how much protein and exercise you do, you're never bypassing that nuclear domain size limit.
Completely overdoing things, then you're not going to lose muscle until maybe the very end of a bodybuilding prep.
I like how he has to show a steroid guy with fake muscles. Why does he have to do that? I thought he was about something natural. Now I realize he may be fake himself, and this is fake. Whatever.
Absolutely dick skin lean eating.
Again, they show you these people to lure you in, to suck you in, and steal your money, to impress you with this fake cosmetic muscle, whatever, fat look. He's fat or whatever.
Well below your maintenance calories. Then you might be at risk.
Everybody knows in
muscle loss.
science, steroids don't build muscles, but you will build sarcoplasmic muscles if you want to call them that, but they're fake. Doing these drugs, yes.
But for 99.9% of you who aren't in that scenario, you're probably not going to be losing muscle. If you want to double check, just keep track of all of your lifts. You want to make sure you see your numbers at least maintaining on the majority of exercises in the gym. If it's trending downwards and trending downwards significantly, like I like 10, 20% at most to see it coming downwards, then you might start to say, okay, maybe you are losing muscle, at risk of losing muscle, but it could also just be fatigue from sleep, nutrition.
If you build real muscle, real contractile proteins in muscle or repairing or remodeling of these muscles, you don't just lose muscle. It doesn't go away, man. Get it? This is stupid. Only sarcoplasmic, the artificial muscles, will go away.
Nutrition, stress, etc., etc. And you'll find that if you just mitigate those things, performance will go right back up. Thoughts on heavy-weighted pull-ups and dips as main exercises in the workout? They're great exercises. You know, you have compound exercises that are progressive. You can push them
I like how it says they're great exercises. That's all they are, exercises.
hard and keep challenging yourself with adding more weight over time. Takes muscle through full.
So challenging yourself by adding more weight. But what if you don't do enough repetitions or sets? What if you don't do enough repetitions or sets? What if it's really frivolous, the exercise? You're going to get this damage to come back? Eh? You're adapted. Why aren't you growing from lifting these weights? Why aren't anybody growing in the gym doing all this? And why are people taking steroids? Why are they getting frustrated? Why do they have to take steroids? I thought you're all building muscles. I thought just eating protein and exercising and lifting heavy builds a muscle. Doesn't a bigger get you a stronger? That's what I heard from everybody online. Even that fat dude, what's his name? Massive Iron.
Range of motion, big wins. The best approach to weight training
wins.
after a
Yay.
3-month
Big
break.
wins, hooray.
So don't need to overcomplicate this. You just start
I know. You guys are all geniuses. You're going to figure it out. That's right.
somewhere and just see what happens. You can pick the most advanced, super duper steroid 10,000 program out there, and you can try that after a 3-month break.
Yeah, you can buy the super duper $10,000 program, but guess what? Only one thing can get these muscles to get bigger. Only one thing you need to do to build real muscles. But guess what? You gotta try all these programs, $10,000. Here we go.
And even then, you'll very quickly find that it's too much and you'll scale things back. So don't overthink it, you just got to start somewhere. I personally like to do something like a full body high frequency program with a lower intensity and then just slowly
Oh, wow, I love full body because I know what it can accomplish.
scale it up. I pick full body because it means I can hit all my muscles with just the minimum effective dose, and I can give them more frequent exposures to training to.
But what if they're adapted and you're just giving them frequent more exposure and everything? What exactly is going on there now? When you're exercising your muscles now, but you're not damaging them anymore, you're exercising them to death like a factory worker, a slave.
Rapidly get myself back to that pre-time off period, because you'll find a lot of that relearning and coming back to where you once were.
You guys actually think he built any muscle? Look at him. He looks like an ordinary dude. I would never think he ever lifted a weight or did anything walking down the street. I would never know. I would think he was some guy walking in Chinatown looking for a ramen noodle restaurant to go eat with his buddies.
Where that relearning process is just about skill acquisition or getting comfortable with moving your body around again. And all that extra soreness you might experience, it'll dissipate faster if you're trying.
Extra soreness? What extra soreness? By wearing yourself out? That kind of soreness? Wearing yourself out or after the exercise? That sucks.
More regularly. Do you think you'll ever be content with the app, or will you try to keep evolving it? I am always ticking my brain over in terms of how to better serve all the members on Gambaru to give them the best training experience possible and the easiest and the most effortless one to follow as well. This past 2 years alone, we've invested so much money and so much time into creating not just new programs, but new
He's a program guy. What's money, this and that. Yeah. Okay. I guess, dude.
There's more, whether it's more community engagement, chunk into the workout, is you're going to get less and less and less stimulus out of it, and you're going to get...
Maybe he's just in such a hurry to build muscles. He thinks that I got to exercise and going to build muscle automatically. It's going to happen in like 24 hours or 12 hours. I'm going to build a muscle in like 4 hours or 1 minute. Or no, I'm building it right here and then. I'm just lifting the weight and it's building the muscle.
more and more and more fatigue out of every single one of those exercises. So wherever you can, try to reduce.
Fatigue is associated with sarcoplasmic training. Fatigue training, high resistance, high fatigue, whatever.
That's it. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thoughts on juggling training goals? Oh, not juggling different goals of hypertrophy, flexibility sport. I thought, we got a fucking clown here. I'm going to leave it at that, guys, because we can go on and on and on with more and more questions, but that's not what this video is meant to be.
We could, man, because this is really boring, bro. I'll see you in the next one. Touch, think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. See you next one. This is what I mean by these influencers. They don't know anything, just making phony content to keep you, whatever, busy, enslaved. See you in the next one. Ciao.